There was this clip that I saw this morning on Twitter.com being posted by a lot of people, and they told me it was good. They told me it was good. And so this is a clip of some guy. The problem with Jon Stewart, I know a lot of people care about him. I don't care about him. But I saw this clip of him with an attorney general of Arkansas talking about transgender people. And I wanted to touch on this. It's about 6 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to play through the whole thing. Yeah, so real quick, I'm going to give you some context here. The attorney general of Arkansas is a dumbass. Total fucking moron. But I need you to understand real quick, as fun as this clip is to watch in some ways, and it is fun to watch, but ultimately, I need you to understand logic, reason, like facts, they do not matter at all to Republicans. So I need you to understand this. This is an entertaining clip. It's fun to watch. Share it with like maybe your liberal family members who don't understand trans issues. That's great. But ultimately, it's about power. It's about power. Right? The Republican here doesn't give a fuck about the facts. She just hates a very specific minority group. I mean, she probably hates gay people too, probably black people too. She just hates minorities and uses her power to enact a white supremacist, cisgender supremacist society. That's it. It's not about logic. She didn't rationally come to this position, right? That's like, you know, a Nazi rationally coming to the position of the Jews are bad. There's no rationality there. There's no logic involved in coming to this conclusion. You're just a bigoted moron, right? So I need you to understand that, right? It doesn't matter. This attorney general isn't going to go look up the facts and then change your mind and then petition her state to change the law. That's not going to happen, right? Hypocrisy doesn't matter. Logic doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. I need you to understand that, right? We are dealing with a scenario here where there are members of society that just do not live in the same world. Either that, or they do live in the same world. It's just that they don't care about reality. They just want to enforce their neo-Nazi agenda on everyone else. If you want to eradicate a minority group, you're not the good guy. I don't know what fucking world you need to live in where advocating for eradication of a minority group makes you the hero. You're not a hero. You're not saving anybody. So with that understood, let's watch this clip.
The state of Arkansas step in to override parents, physicians, psychiatrists, endocrinologists who have developed guidelines. Why would you override those guidelines?
Well, I think it's important that all of those physicians, all of those experts, for every single one of them, there's an expert that says we don't need to.
So again, I need you to understand real quick. Again, I know, like, these people, I mean, if you can even call them that, right? They're slime balls. They're neo-Nazis. But like, they say words, but the words do not matter. Like, I need you to understand, right? Like, if you want to walk to the grocery store, let's say you have to walk to the grocery store, drive, whatever, just you're traveling, right? In this instance, her saying these words is like walking to the grocery store. It doesn't matter which route you take. She's just trying to get the conversation over with, right? She's just trying to get from point A to point B. And in every other instance on local TV, they don't give a fuck about minorities, especially in Arkansas. They probably want to kill minorities too, right? They're not going to push back on any of that shit. So again, but Jon Stewart is like, what? And asks actual questions.
Allow children to be able to take those medications. That there are many instances where...
But you know that's not true. You know it's not for everyone. There's one.
So this is why I like this clip here, because Jon Stewart's just like saying, you know that you're lying. Like, you're aware that you're lying, and I'm going to just tell you that you're lying, and by the way, here's the fact. Right? So again, this conversation here is about puberty blockers. Now I have to ask you a question. Do you know? If you don't know, that's fine. Do you know why puberty blockers were invented? Does anyone know? Especially if you hate transgender people, you want to see them all die, or maybe you don't want to see them all die, but you just want to see them stop existing. Does it require killing them? I don't know. You just don't want to see them anywhere. Why were puberty blockers invented? They were invented to combat some children go through early puberty. And when you go through puberty really early, right? So, genetic predisposition, environmental factors, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they could have some sort of syndrome or a disease, right? If you go through puberty early, it can damage your body in ways that can affect you for the rest of your life. So they invented puberty blockers. Why would they do that? Well, if someone is going to go through puberty at 7 years old, they would be on the blockers, wait until they're 9, maybe 10, 11, whatever is normal for that person, right, to go through. And then they get off the blockers, and then puberty starts as normal. That's why puberty blockers were invented. Now, again, a lot of these laws that Republicans are going for are banning puberty blockers for children that aren't even trans. And the same way that I think it was Arkansas as well that banned circumcision. Now, they amended that. I think that was Alabama, actually. They banned circumcision and then had to put forth an extra amendment saying, by the way, just kidding, we can cut our kids' dicks off for quote-unquote religious reasons, but trans people aren't allowed to do whatever the fuck that they want or whatever. And that doesn't even happen with kids anyway, so it's weird. But anyway, so again, in this crusade against random minorities, there are more people that go through situations like menopause and early puberty and other things that require hormone intervention than there are transgender people, but they hate transgender people so fucking much that they're willing to just destroy the lives of millions of random people just to attack a couple thousand trans kids. Or in like the state of Utah, there was like 2 trans kids. In all of sports, in the whole state, 2 trans kids, and they made like months and months worth of legislation crying about it. So again, that's why puberty blockers were invented. So just real quick history lesson there.
These are the established.
Well, I don't know that's not true. I don't know that.
Then why would you pass a law then if you don't know that?
So this bitch is like, well, there's 1-to-1. Someone says this, and I got someone that says that. And then Jon Stewart's like, well, that's not true though. You know that that's not true. And then she's like, well, I don't know. Well, bitch, if you didn't know, why would you say that? Why would you say that there's one person against trans kids for every one person that there is for trans kids in the medical industry? And then when asked for specifics, well, I don't know. Well, why would you say that? Why would you pass a law if you don't know? What?
That's true, wouldn't you?
Well, I know that there are doctors, and that we had plenty of people come and testify before our legislature who said that, we have 98% of the young people who have gender dysphoria, right, that they are able to move past.
So I just want to say this real quick. First of all, the testifying, they control who gets to testify. They control that. That's like saying, oh, I had 10 people over my house and they all agree with me. And those 10 people, I gave a key to the front door and everyone else didn't have a key and they were outside. No shit. Now, also, notice the way that she is struggling. She is starting to struggle here because she's going off the prompt. Right? Like, she's got like a preset dialogue tree because she's not a human. She's just a robot. She's scripted to say all these things. Right? And then, like, the input into the dialogue tree is glitched and she doesn't know how to, so she's struggling. Like, just notice it in her body language. Right? She's kind of stuttering a little bit. Her eyes are twitching.
Young people who have gender dysphoria, right, that they are able to move past that, and once they have the help that they need, no longer suffer from gender dysphoria. 98%.
Wow.
Without that medical treatment.
That's an incredibly made-up figure. That doesn't comport with any of the studies or documentation that exists from these medical organizations. What medical association are you talking about of these doctors?
Well, we have all of that in our legislative history, and we'll be glad to provide that to you. I don't have the name of that off the top of my head. I know it's something that...
You don't have the name of the organization? that
Off
you're
the
getting
top
that
of my head.
information? Oh, okay.
But yes, we have all of that cited in all of our briefs.
You're suggesting that protecting children means overriding the recommendations of the American...
So real quick, 98%, like, is that like a population-wide statistic? Like 98% of people don't want to transition? Because that makes sense. 98% of people in America don't want to transition. That tracks. I can understand that. But 98% of transgender people don't want to like, what? What? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, it gets better.
The Medical Association, the American Association of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society.
We don't have enough data. We don't have enough to show that these drugs are effective and that these children are better off.
So again, if you didn't have enough data on something, wouldn't you want to fund the data, fund the research, fund the studies? But of course, these Republican politicians, at every step, they block funding for research. They block funding to examine how these things function. They block polls and studies. So, you know, if you ask someone after a procedure or after something how you feel, they block all that at every step of the way. So we don't have enough data, which, by the way, is not true, but in this world that they want to project, if that is true, then you should fucking get the data.
And that we should encourage these.
Or it's not enough for you. Let me try and flip it a different way and see if maybe this can help. In Arkansas, if you have pediatric cancer, and obviously we all want to protect children, I think we established that earlier, whose guidelines do you follow for pediatric cancer?
Well, I think if my child, who is 4, if I was faced with that terrible decision, then I would be speaking to my doctor. And if my doctor recommended something that I disagreed with, then I would get a second opinion. And that's what I believe that these parents need to make sure that they're encouraged to get numerous opinions when they're talking about.
So I love this line of questioning. And again, you can tell she is glitching hard, right? She doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Her face is all twitchy, right? But this is great. Just wait for it. This is great.
An irreversible step.
You're not letting them. The state's not saying, get another opinion. What they're saying is, you can't. What you're actually saying is the opposite. No, that's actually
not at all what the state said. The state simply said that you cannot perform these procedures, and so parents should...
Wait, so Jon Stewart's like, the state says you can't do this. And then she's like, that's not what the state says. The state says you can't do it. What? Like, what? Okay. I mean, if it was like a bill that like said every major procedure, here's funding so that you can go see a second doctor and get a second opinion, right? It's like, you know, like those donation things where we match you, like you donate $5 and then we'll donate $5 on your behalf, and right? If that was like the bill, all right, I'm down. I'd rather have a second opinion on everything funded by the state. Let's go. That's not what the bill is. That's not what the law is. The law just says you can't do this. That's what the law says.
Should get another opinion, and children should want to have another opinion.
But that's not...
Because again, these are 9, 10, 11, 12
So if your child is suffering from pediatric cancer, and the state comes in and says to you, they recommend chemotherapy, but we're not going to let you do that. You can't. We think you should get a different opinion, and here's the organization we think you should get the opinion from. They're not the mainstream, but they're an organization. So that's who you have to be treated by. Does that sound like something you would accept?
I think that's a very extreme example. That's not at all in line with what we're talking about.
That is literally first of all, that's not even an extreme example. That's just what the situation is. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, this is what is the medicinal pathway forward, but we can't do it because the law says not so, right? It's like if you go to the hospital, you're having a hemorrhage, a miscarriage, right? And you're losing a lot of blood, and the doctor says, well, we would normally, under this circumstance, try to save your life, and abort the fetus and clean you out, but we can't do that because the law says so. But here's a $5 coupon for the pharmacy store. If you want to go get some Tylenol and rough it out in the parking lot, feel free. Like, that's literally, like, again, like, I need you to understand. But at the same time, the logic, the facts, right, hypocrisy does not matter to them, right? Facts and logic does not matter to them. They don't care. They don't care, right? So Jon Stewart doing like this weird philosophical thought experimentation, while it's great for the viewer, right? Right-wingers do not care. They don't care at all. The being blatantly hypocritical is a weapon, a tactic, a warfare is what it is. It's literally a tactic that is meant to confuse you. Like, the idea that we spend all this time trying to debunk their arguments is a waste of fucking time. It doesn't matter. The arguments don't fucking matter. Now, again, there's some people that are just like really, they don't know anybody and they're fucking weird, and maybe they're not neo-Nazis, but they're concerned because they've been gish-galloped from mainstream media and all this fucking shit. That's something where these videos actually matter, right? But again, when it comes to power, right, these Republican politicians, people that hate transgender people, they don't care about the reality. They don't care about medical studies. All they care about is eradicating a specific minority group. That's it. That's all they care about. That is their single organizing principle, is how can we eradicate a minority group. Now, once again, history lesson for you. The Nazis, not neo-Nazis, the Nazis in the 1920s and 30s, right? A lot of people love the term burning books. Oh, they're gonna burn the books. Well, what is that based on? Of course, it is based on the Nazi book burning ceremonies that took place in the 20s and 30s. Now, I ask you this question. Do you know what the first major Nazi book burning ceremony was about burning? Do you know what they burned? In those famous photos, right, of the giant heaps of paper and book on fire. Do you know what they burned? They burned research for transgender healthcare clinics. That's what they burned. They burned research for how to properly take care of and facilitate the transition of people that need it. That's what they burned. They destroyed transgender healthcare history. And now that's why modern day neo-Nazis talk about it. Oh, it's a fad. Never happened before. It's a fad. It's a fad. Anyone that tells you that this trans thing is new, it's not new. They destroyed the history. Anybody that says that, oh, back in my day people weren't trans, they are literally, they might as well be saying, well, you know, Jewish people do control the media a little bit. It's, again, they are lying on behalf of Nazism. They are effectively spreading neo-Nazi propaganda. Now, again, they could not know that, right? Because, again, Nazis did their best to remove that shit from the historical record, right? So you need to, like, you know, have a little bit more of an advanced understanding of history than just middle school or high school, which most people, you know, they don't even really have a middle school understanding of the world, right? Let's be honest. Let's be real. And so it makes sense why someone would inadvertently spread neo-Nazi propaganda if that's all they've been told. But again, at the end of the day, it's neo-Nazi propaganda. To say the trans thing is new or whatever, that we don't have the data, there's been data collected for over 100 years. And again, we can always fund whatever data you need. It could be funded and acquired. But it's never about that. It's never about that. It's just about power and the goal to eradicate a minority group. That's it.
We're not saying that at some point, because when you have cancer, it literally is, particularly pediatric cancer, and having friends that have lost children to pediatric cancer, having a 4-year-old, I'm sure.
I've got some bad news for you. Parents with children who have gender dysphoria have lost children to suicide and depression.
They absolutely
because it's acute. And so these mainstream medical organizations have developed guidelines through peer-reviewed data and studies. And through those guidelines, they've improved mental health outcomes. So I'm confused why you follow AMA guidelines and AAAP guidelines for all other health issues than Arkansas, because we checked, but not for this.
It's simply saying, let those young people who are facing gender confusion and dysphoria, allow them to become adults and to make that decision. Allow a child to be a child.
So here's where
What is that? Allow them to become adults? What does that even mean?
we have our crossroads. You've made the determination that protecting these children means not giving them access to the guidelines and care that have been designed by medical and mental health professionals for children expressing gender dysphoria. And I'm asking you again, what are your qualifications to step in and say, no, keeping you from that care is protecting you. You've made that determination.
Well, these are irreversible decisions that these...
That's not true. Puberty blockers, they're not irreversible. Like, I literally told you they were invented to delay puberty in people that get early puberty. That's why they were invented. The literal, for like decades, when this procedure was used mainstream, it was, like, again, it was designed to be reversible. Like, dude, but of course, again, they don't know anything about the human body. If you ask these people what hormones do in the human body, they could not answer that question. Right? And again, it doesn't matter about facts and logic. They don't care. I need you to understand, Republican politicians especially, but a lot of the base as well. The base is, you can make more of an argument that they're just stupid, right? But Republican politicians, they don't give a fuck. It's about power. They campaign on pledging to eradicate minority groups, and so that's all they're going to say. They don't care if it's right or wrong. They don't care. I need you to understand reality. These people do not give a fuck about anything in the real world other than gaining power by manipulating stupid neo-Nazis and stupid racists and stupid bigots into giving them votes and money. That's it. That's all it is. It's a big fucking grift.
Children at these young ages are making, or that their
They're
parents
not
are
making the decision. You're making it sound like a 9-year-old walks into a doctor's office and says, give me some testosterone. And the doctor goes, oh, thank God, because we're wanting to create an army of transgenders because we're crazy. And they go right in like...
Now, we passed a law to protect the children in Arkansas, and I think that's what is important.
Again, the medical community disagrees with you that that's protecting
not all of the
children.
medical community.
Who doesn't?
This is like the climate, again, it's the climate change thing. Like 0.03% of scientists, right, say that climate change is a hoax. Well, there's scientists that say, I got this snowball, and, if the snowball melted, then the climate be changing, but the snowball ain't melting. And so I got my friend, he got his degree in science. I don't know what, so he got it, but then, and, got it, and then he said the climate's not changing. This climate's not changing. He got his degree in nutritional science, and he wants to tell me about climate change. Got the snow, why ain't the snow melting? Checkmate, liberals. Right? And again, I wish Jon Stewart would have said this more, but it's not irreversible. This claim that you're going to take a super drug when you're 7 and then it's irreversible, that's not a thing. And again, it relies on having no understanding about hormones work at all. What causes puberty? Do they know? Do Republicans know? Do they know? A certain set of hormones are released by your body, and those hormones change the cells in your body to express certain genes in certain ways. That's why when you block puberty, when you block those hormones, puberty does not begin until you unblock them. When you unblock them, then the floodgate is opened, the hormones enter your body, and they change your cells depending on what the hormone in the cell is. That's why when you take hormone therapy and you switch the hormones that are expressing in your body, right? When you block what your body naturally produces, right? And supplement it with the other hormone, guess what it does? It changes your body based on the hormone. It goes through your body, your bloodstream, carries throughout every cell of your body, and based on the hormone, changes which genes are expressed in that cell. It's not that complicated. It's literally basic, like, I mean, maybe it's advanced. I don't know I don't know, like, what the average American intellect is, so maybe it is advanced or intermediate, I don't know. But, like, I learned this shit in fucking, like, 5 minutes of a Google search. You know what I mean? So, the idea that puberty blockers are irreversible, if you had, like, some weird endocrine disorder and, like, your body didn't naturally produce hormones, I don't know how puberty blockers would affect that, because you wouldn't have the hormones anyway. So, but I don't know, like, you'd have to have some extremely rare, like, disorder for that, and then you wouldn't be on puberty blockers anyway. They just don't fucking understand, like, anything at all.
We have had experts testify here in Arkansas.
Okay, from what medical organizations?
Well, we have all of those in our briefs, and I apologize that I wasn't prepared to have a Supreme Court argument today in front of you, but we are going to have arguments on this case
right.
When the time comes.
So there you go. That's a great clip. I gotta say this. That's a great clip. I do have to say, I don't often see people... I mean, is this mainstream media? I mean, I know he was on TV for a while, but I don't really know much about Jon Stewart. But, like, I don't really see people in mainstream media handle these issues well. I mean, like, let's be honest. Are there trans people in mainstream media? Can you think of one transgender person that has any affiliation with CNN, Fox News, cable television at all, really? In any fashion? Think of one transgender person. Just think, right? I can't think of any. I don't watch TV that much. In fact, I don't even have a cable subscription or anything, so I don't watch TV at all. But I can't think of any. I watch, like, some media digest stuff, see, you know, some clips and all that. I can't think of any, right? And so there's a quote-unquote national debate about whether or not people like me should be allowed to be alive or should be killed. And we are not allowed to participate in this debate. That's just how it is. We're not allowed to participate in the debate on whether or not we're allowed to live or die or be killed or slaughtered by the government. That's a little fucked up. You know, that's a little fucked up. But so, you know, whenever, like, the bar is low is what I'm trying to say. The bar is really low. Cisgender people, even allies, they often will say some really cringy shit when they try to defend our right to exist, right? So I gotta say, I really do appreciate this clip, because I don't think Jon Stewart resorted to any cringy, like, he just stated the facts as they are and didn't try to, like, be a weirdo, like, virtue signaler, which is wonderful. He just stated the facts of reality, and it's wonderful. And so I gotta say, this is probably the best clip I've seen of this genre in a mainstream media or mainstream media adjacent, you know, thing. So I think it's great.